The International Cricket Council has admitted that the draws for global tournaments are habitually fixed in order to get India and Pakistan into the same group. The draw for the 2017 Champions Trophy in England again throws the two countries together. Now, matches between the two countries regularly attract global television audiences of up to 1 billion. Although it had long been suspected that the ICC was doctoring draws, this is the first time the governing body has admitted to it publicly.
What we try and do is make sure that when you add up the rankings of the different groups, that they all add up to the equal same number of points. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can go zigzag, you can go sort of like a snake. No doubt we want to try and put India versus Pakistan in our event. It's massive around the world, and it's probably no coincidence that they do keep ending up in the same group.
Well, let's talk to BBC Sports commentator Nikesh Rughani, who's here with me. Well, there we have it, a slightly complicated explanation, but confirmation of what we long suspected.
Exactly. We all knew that this was the case. These two sides have been in the same group in ICC tournaments ever since the 2011 World Cup. When they weren't actually in the same group, but they did end up meeting in the semi-final. It's an absolutely huge match. It's probably the biggest sports rivalry in the world, bar none. People talk about the Ashes cricket between England and Australia. This is on a completely different level. This goes back many years. There's a lot of history between these two countries, and the fans just absolutely love coming up against one another. And
you heard David Richardson allude to it, because when you look at the numbers, I mean, I mentioned one of the figures in the introduction. I mean, they are staggering in terms of the audience and presumably what it is worth to international cricket.
And to the broadcasters as well, yeah. Indeed. I mean, I was at the last India-Pakistan game at an ICC tournament. That was a 2015 World Cup group game in Adelaide. There were 53,000 people inside the stadium, another 1 billion watching on TV. So that just goes to show that's right up there with any sporting event in the world. Advertising money, TV revenue, revenue for the players, extra sponsorship, all that build-up is the reason why the ICC have admitted what we always knew.
In one sense, that is the evidence on one side of the scale. So I suppose the other, for purists, would be, what about integrity? What about transparency of such a global sport to have things rigged in this way?
Well, I mean, yeah, you just go back to the FA Cup here in England, you know, the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, the Euro 2016 Championships. All of these major football tournaments have their draws televised, names are drawn out of a hat, it's all quite fair, teams are seeded. What the ICC have said today, though, is that although they've admitted kind of rigging this, there is some fairness to it, because India are ranked number 2 in the world, Australia are ranked number 1, they're both separated. Bangladesh are number 7, they're in Australia's group. Pakistan are number 8, they're in India's group. So there is some kind of balance in terms of where the teams are ranked.
And it's interesting, even when you look further down, you have that other great rivalry, you alluded to it a minute ago, England-Australia. They seem to be pitted together as well. So do you think it extends beyond India-Pakistan?
It may well be. I mean, they've seemed to be pitted against each other in ICC tournaments, at least for the last 3 or 4. Again, you know, it's a massive rivalry. We've got the Ashes, you know, in the Test cricket. That sort of boils over to the one-day stuff as well. So, again, a lot of money to be made.
Do you anticipate any of this changing? I mean, this is a revelation, this is openness, but do you imagine any of it will change going forward? Are there any of the teams involved, for example, who, since this announcement, have raised any sort of concerns?
Not really, not the teams themselves. I mean, they love it. It obviously does a lot for their economies. Their cricket boards make a lot of money out of this due to television revenues. The players seem to love the big occasion, you know, the big TV audiences, the exposure that gives. And the fans, ultimately, without India and Pakistan playing bilateral series, this is the only opportunity they really get to play each other. So there's a huge appetite for that.
Huge appetite. Nikesh Rughani, thank you so much for coming in and talking to me. Thank you. Now, do stay with us, because still to come, after an Islamic council in Pakistan advised that a husband